And we have calling in from somewhere. I'm not sure if she's in Dearborn or where, but or Detroit. But Tamara Shoemaker, who's with the Cyber Patriot program. We've had her on the show many times before. How you doing today, Tamara?
I'm doing really good, Mike. How about yourself?
One of the things we wanted to go over. Let's start with. I always assume that we have a lot of first-time guests, and they may or may not know about who you are or what you do. So why don't we start with that, and then we'll get into your questions.
Sure. So I'm Tamara Shoemaker, and I'm the director of the Center for Cybersecurity and Intelligence Studies at the University of Detroit Mercy. And I'm also the founder of the MCC Coalition of Schools and Industry Partners that all get together around teaching cybersecurity, and the mission of our Reaching Back into the K through 12 program helped us to found the Michigan Cyber Patriot program here in Michigan. And that's what I'm here to talk to you about.
All right. And so one of the things that, well, like everybody else, how has COVID impacted the Cyber Patriot program?
So, not to brag, but I will. So Cyber Patriot, one of the really cool things about Cyber Patriot is it's always been a virtual competition. And so it's a virtual competition that happens monthly all through the fall and winter season. And then early spring, they then compete nationally. And nationally is really the only time that you leave your home. Or it's not virtual. It wasn't virtual, at least up until now. And so the only thing that they had to adopt and change was our national program. So before, you just logged in with your computers and did it virtually on a weekend during the school year. And then nationals, you physically went to Baltimore. But this year, they had to alter it because of COVID. And so they had to have their spring actual championship virtual. And so they had to make some tweaks. But it really wasn't a heavy lift for us because we're used to doing it virtually, right? So instead of the only bad part was that teams weren't able to be in the same room with each other, team members, and be able to sort of talk that way. But one of the things I've discovered when doing the cyber camps this summer virtually is kids are very used to using these tools and being in a virtual experiencing and working together. I mean, it wasn't very much different than what they do when they're doing gaming and they're doing it in a group kind of setting and they're on a team, which much like that for them. So they've been sort of, preparing for this for a while. Whereas we as older workers and folks are having to get used to this virtual kind of way of communicating and working together.
Is that the biggest lessons that you've learned so far from
So it was one of them
virtual?
so that was one of them, and it was kind of a heartwarming one, right? To see how well they work together and how, some of the little glitches that would just blow my mind, like, if the Zoom wasn't working exactly perfectly or somebody had an echo or something was going on. Normally, as an organizer of one of those kind of things, I would freak out and it would be upsetting that it wasn't totally perfectly professional. But it was amazing how the kids and my instructors and all those folks just like, oh no, that's really easy, Mrs. Shoemaker, you just have to do this or that, and just that goes away and it's fixed. Everyone was just sort of working together to make sure that the whole thing worked out really, really well over the summer. So that was kind of cool to see that. I am disappointed and I talked to this a little bit last time I was with you about the digital divide. I'm still very upset about that, and I still want to work on that. So that's a really big thing across our state. There's a huge digital divide. And what I say by digital divide, so I'm not just talking to us, right, is that folks that have the kind of personal PCs and laptops and things that they can use to get online, and they have good internet connections and all that fast and all that kind of good stuff. And then the folks that don't. And then are not used to using that kind of stuff on a daily basis. And maybe they have one laptop in the house, but if mom's working from home and she's using that laptop, then, the kids that are coming to my camp or playing Cyber Patriot wouldn't be able to participate because mom's got to earn money. So that kind of piece became very much more evident while having to go virtual for both our spring award ceremony that we did here in Michigan and when we did our camp. That became really obvious that there's a huge difference between the folks that have a lot of computers and the capabilities that come with high-speed internet and all that, and that don't. And so we were sort of thinking that we would be able to get a bigger crowd when in actuality it actually didn't. It actually limited who we could service, and it was very upsetting to me because I envisioned with all the help that I had that I was going to be able to just blast it out to the whole state, but it didn't work out perfectly, and so I was a little frustrated with that.
So having those computer labs at the various schools makes a big difference then.
Sure, for those folks that can't have them, that can't afford to have that in their own home, absolutely. Now they have those things that are there. There were some cool things that happened in the city of Detroit. A bunch of industry came together and supplied pads for every kid in Detroit, but that was in Detroit. So we're not talking about rural Michigan and all the other areas that don't have that kind, didn't have people come together and realize right away, hey, if we're going to continue education, we're going to need to, get, help everyone. So that's still a big issue. And so, yeah, not having those kinds of things available is definitely going to hold us back.
All right. So moving forward into the 2021 school year, and this is sort of classified as an after-school program, how do you see this all working out?
So one of the things that even from the beginning, 5 years ago, when I first started doing it, I noticed right away that some of the hip teachers were not just using this as an after-school program. Because it's so well put together and so easy to implement, and there's so many tutorials, and Cisco is involved, Facebook, IBM, all of those really big names in IT are helping to support this program. What they're able to do is not just drop it down as an after-school program, which is what it's intended to be, but also take all those tutorials and all those resources and use them in the classroom. I was asked by the Michigan Department of Education to sort of map up what Cyber Patriot delivers and what the Michigan new cyber security standard is. And if you actually implement Cyber Patriot, you're getting about half to 3/4 of the way through the Michigan standard, actually completing it. And so the smarter teachers, the ones that were easy and those early adopters quickly noticed that right away and dropped down wonderfully prepared lessons for themselves, and they got a kickstart. And it's a really good place to start. So that's a really nice entryway if you're thinking about, starting to do cybersecurity in your classrooms. It's a really nice, easy way to grab onto some prepared stuff that's already out there and we know is easy to implement.
Okay, so what's the future of K-12 cybersecurity instruction? In the light of COVID, which probably until we get a vaccine, we're stuck with for however long, right?
Right. So I think the thing that's cool about it is it's gaining and it's bright and getting brighter. So while I get a little frustrated about the digital divide, there's an awful lot of really good things that are happening. Right now, I sit on 2 or 3 committees that our governor has put together to work on making sure that our classrooms are secure, right? So number one, right, if we're going to be doing all this virtually and stuff, we want to make sure everybody's safe and everything's secure. They want to make sure that the curriculum and the things that we're doing the resources for all of that are available. So we have a standard, but we don't necessarily have bunches of stuff put together for our teachers to go ahead and deliver that in the classroom, right? And so we've been working on getting a huge resource, listing of resources and websites and all kinds of ways for teachers to easily implement this stuff and then go forward. And then the last part is to sort of reward folks for doing that and sort of pull out the stars that are working and so that they're a shining example across the state, and then they can help work with others. It's one of those things that works really, really well in my Cyber Patriot program. Everybody in this industry feels responsible for making a difference. So I've got tons of industry partners that get involved and become mentors. Our teachers are real excited about it. They're hungry for the information. So the fact that we have these really organized multi-agency committees that are working on this right now really gets me excited that there's a bright future ahead for us. And we can quit, whining about the fact that we're falling behind, and that other places are taking us a little bit more seriously and that we're not. I really feel like we're making some really good strides.
Let's talk about the current scope of the cybersecurity programs. Kind of update for the audience and me. How many schools now participate in Michigan?
So in Michigan, we went from 5 years ago, we went from 4 teams to 182 teams playing. So we went from 20 kids playing and working on this, in their schools to now over 1,000. I don't know how it's going to grow this year. One of the things that's really cool that people can tell other people that are thinking about it is it is all virtual, right? So it's easy to implement, even in the situations if you have to go to all virtual. It's very inexpensive to run. You just have to be able to have a computer or a laptop and internet connection. And let's see, what was the other thing that was really important? Shoot. There's so many things there that already to just download and start using, right? So that part you can, get yourself running. I lost train. I'm so sorry.
We were talking about moving forward and how many total participants you have in the program right now.
Oh, right. Oh, and that was the big thing. So one of the things that a lot of my coaches have been reporting back to me is that most of the sports for the high schools and middle schools have been canceled. Or they're in some kind of strange holding pattern, right? That they may happen in the spring or they may happen. Cyber Patriot, that's not happening across the board because it is virtual and because it is so easy to maintain. That is something that they're not canceling, right? In fact, as far as the summer camps too, we were one of the only summer camps that continued over the summer because we were again holding it virtually, and so there was no fear of anyone having any problems with exposures. So that's the piece that's really important, is that it seems to be thriving in a situation where others are not, right?
And so let's talk about how, if schools aren't already involved in this program, how they can get involved.
So number one, we have I'm the local contact, right? So there's a support group here locally, which is really important because I don't want anyone to think that they're on their own on this, right? So they can contact us at www.MICyberPatriot.com, and I'll help walk them through whatever they need, right? But then there also is the national program, which is at www.uscyberpatriot.org. And that has everything you could possibly need as far as information. Ahead of time, year ahead of time, what the schedule looks like, when all the events are going to be happening, all the prices. You can even download digital brochures, whatever it is that you need as far as that goes. And they also are, just like I am, I've over the 5 years of being one of their centers of excellence, we've learned is they're only a phone call away, an email away. I'm only a phone call away, an email away. And we definitely have this amazing group of industry leaders here in Michigan that are cyber patriot or cybersecurity professionals that have stepped up and are lending their hand. So you aren't going to be in this alone. You're going to have us here, and you're going to have all these mentors out there across the state that are actually doing this for a living. And so they'll be able to bring that real world experience to this lovely hands-on learning experience for your students. It's also something that sort of takes them and prepares them for a career, and it also does the gaming and all that kind of stuff. So if they're getting tired of the whole online school and all that other kind of thing, this is one of those times when they can actually interact with with students together, right? Because they really run their own teams. So they have people who are the pilots and the leaders and the people who do the research and all that kind of stuff, and they work as this team, and it's a really cool thing to watch as that happens. There's so much more hip about all this stuff than we are, as far as chatting in the chat room. I mean, and corresponding and sending email links and doing all that kind of stuff while things are happening.
All right, so we're just about out of time. Tamara Shoemaker, why don't you give those email, or I should say the URLs, the domain names again, where people can find out more information.
So the local one here is MICyberPatriot.com, and the national one is uscyberpatriot.org.
All right, Tamara Shoemaker.
Traditional four-year students love Lawrence Technological University's thriving campus life. But LTU has always met non-traditional students' needs too. Lawrence Tech offers over 100 degree and certificate programs that can get adult students started or back on track. And most of our classes are conveniently offered evenings at our beautiful Southfield campus or online, so you can balance your social, family, and work life even while you power up your career. Lawrence Tech, where Blue Devils dare.